It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Ugh, you said you were over him, but his hoodie is still in your rotation. It's time. Grab your phone, snap a few pics, and sell it on Depop. Listed in minutes, with no selling fees. And just like that, a guy 500 miles away just paid full price for your closure. And right on cue.
Hey, still got my hoodie?
Nope, but I've got tonight's dinner paid for. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste. List now with no selling fees. Payment processing fees and boosting fees still apply. See website for details.
Say all you want about superhero movie fatigue, but kids today don't know how bad it can get. How bad, you ask? How about Marvel's first attempt at an R-rated movie based on one of their characters, played by a guy whose acting ability in the 80s was best summed up by Sylvester Stallone when he said, "You gave that guy lines?" Hold on to your handlebars. It's going to be a bumpy ride as we look to see if 1989's The Punisher is not that bad. Welcome one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies. Hello to all of our listeners in Preston, England, and around the world. How the heck are you guys doing? All right, you know that we're geeks here. We are total geeks. We do love a good comic book movie. But that being said, to paraphrase George Orwell, all comic book movies are equal, but some are more equal than others. We're dealing with one of those that's a little less on the equal side. We're talking about The Punisher, starring Dolph Lundgren, and yes, that sentence exists in the English language. And here to join me, also in abject confusion, Alex Lale's back on the show. Alex, how you doing, man?
Jason, when you proposed to me this idea of Dolph Lundgren being the Punisher, I genuinely stared at you for a couple of minutes and thought, is this real? Is this genuinely real?
And yes, it is. Now, I'll admit that this was actually the first time watching The Punisher for me. I actually don't mind the Thomas Jane Punisher film. I find there are some good things about it. There's some wrong things about it as well. But I mean, that was, Marvel movies in the 2000s for you. Here, 1989, and fresh off of butchering Masters of the Universe, although not too bad. I actually did enjoy that one. We get The Punisher with Ivan Drago. Like, really?
John Bernthal still clears. Like, he massively clears.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's always the biggest question. Who can play a comic book hero and look like they actually belong in the role? And we're going to get to that a little bit. John Bernthal, of course, is killing it with the MCU right now. Thank God they're bringing these characters from the Netflix verse into the proper MCU. So loving that. But we're taking a trip back in time to well before the MCU. We're going to talk about The Punisher from 1989. But before we do, it's time to take it and trailerize it.
In 1974, in the pages of The Amazing Spider-Man, the world was introduced to Frank Castle. 15 years later, and the world is wondering if Frank can have a do-over. Dolph Lundgren stars as the murderous vigilante, The Punisher. He's out to kill those who break the law, and at the same time, breaks all laws of decency by chilling out nude in the sewers. I mean, there's rats down there. That's just not clean. But when he puts on clothes, he's a walking, mumbling, murdering machine. Aided by a rhyming louse who makes Trevor Slattery look like Sean Connery, he'll look to stop the Yakuza with a singular emotion. Focus. Singular focus. But hey, it's still better than the Captain America film that came out 1 year later. Don't believe me? Look it up. Dolph Lundgren is the Punisher. Rated R for RoboCop had more acting range, and he's a cyborg.
Oh my god, Jesus Christ. Your trailer eyes always get me every single time.
I do need to clarify something right off the bat. So that whole thing about Stallone saying you gave that guy lines, dear listeners, there's a documentary out there called Electric Boogaloo, and it looks at the history of Canon Films. Of course, Masters of the Universe was made by Canon Films. It was starring Dolph Lundgren. Stallone came to visit them on set, looked at what they were doing and said, you gave that guy lines about Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, no, he did not deserve any lines. And when I was watching the movie, there were at some points, this guy didn't even, like, the words didn't match. They were ADR. I noticed there was some ADR.
I mean, okay, we have to recognize a few things about this film. You know, it only had a budget of $9 million. They filmed it in Australia. I don't know what their post-production budget was. And by the way, this is, of course, is a straight to video release, no theatrical release. But let's get into who is in the movie, because it actually is a decent cast. The movie stars Dolph Lundgren, Louis Gossett Jr., Jerome Crabb, Kim Maori, Zoska Elise, Nancy Everhard, Brian Rooney, and Barry Otto. However, there's an almost starring for this one. Apparently, according to IMDb, the producer's first choice for the Punisher was Christopher Lambert. They wanted Connor frickin' McLeod to be the Punisher.
Ooh, that's very interesting. That is actually very interesting. That could have worked, actually.
Could it, though? Could it really?
Yes. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. It would have been better than just seeing Dolph Lundgren walking like he thinks he's so tough, even though he's really not.
Okay.
Like, he has a stance that, like, just looks so strange.
Let's call it like it is. Dolph Lundgren is a tall, imposing figure. So is the Punisher from the comic book. So at least they went for menacing in presence. Christopher Lambert would have been good, but I got thoughts on this. But also apparently, because the film was being made in Australia, reportedly, Nicole Kidman was potentially going to be in the movie, but it didn't actually happen. They didn't say, IMDb didn't say who she was going to play, but we almost had apparently Nicole Kidman in this film somehow.
Oh, what the heck?
She probably looked at the script and said, yeah, no.
That would have been so good. I would have loved that.
The movie was directed by Mark Goldblatt, who has only directed 2 films in his entire career, this being the last one. But before you sit there and go, oh, well, I guess no, guess what? He went on to have one fantastic career in Hollywood. He was an editor on Terminator 2, True Lies, Starship Troopers, and Showgirls. He was the editor on Showgirls. The movie was written by Boaz Yokin. This was his first film as a writer. Then he went on to be the writer for movies like Now You See Me. So there is some talent behind the scenes. But the reason why we are here, not because we like to geek out on comic book movies, even though we do, are the critics. Over at Rotten Tomatoes, this film has a tomatometer of 24% with a popcorn meter of 33%. At Letterboxd, sits at 2.7 stars out of 5 for a 54%. IMDb, 5.7 out of 10, 57% score. Metacritic, a metascore of 63%, and at the movie database has a score of 58%, giving this film an aggravated aggregate of 48.16%. Now, Alex, I'm going to toss it over to you. We got a range from 24%, the tomatometer, to the Metacritic score of 63. Where in that range is this film?
For me, I think it has to be at like a 45 or a 47. It's not really a pass. I'm going to be honest. The editing for this movie is so all over the place, and I was confused at like some points of the movie. But 63 Metacritic. Are you like, how generous are you being for this movie?
Well, you know what? Let's figure out where the numbers are coming from.
My day kicks off with a refreshing Celsius energy drink, then straight to the gym. Pre-K pickup, back home to meal prep. Time for my fire station shift. One more Celsius, gotta keep the lights on. When the 3-alarm hits, I'm ready. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
This episode is brought to you by Peloton. Break through the busiest time of year with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus. Powered by Peloton IQ. With real-time guidance and endless ways to move, you can personalize your workouts and train with confidence, helping you reach your goals in less time. Let yourself run, lift, sculpt, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Love Story, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette. Join host Evan Ross Katz on the official podcast for FX's new series, Love Story, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette, and go behind the scenes with cast and special guests, featuring Sarah Pigeon, Paul Anthony Kelly, Grace Gummer, and Naomi Watts. FX's Love Story, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette, wherever you listen to podcasts.
We start with Dolph Lundgren, who of course plays Frank Castle / The Punisher. You were already kind of ripping on this. I'm going to let you take over here.
He thinks he's a big man. He doesn't know how to hold a gun. He doesn't know how to shoot a gun. He always rides a motorcycle in a sewer and just looks really weird and strange. He looks like he's just like going through a hallway. I hate it. What else do I say? I'm just very confused. All of like the action and like his knives and everything, I don't understand it. There was at one point when it was the hallway scene, this guy just stabbed a knife like randomly through the paper mache, and it already killed someone. I'm like, huh? How did you already know someone was there?
Okay, but tell me that's not like an idea straight out of the comic books. Tell me that's not something that you could easily see in a comic book panel. And this is where I'm going to actually start to defend this film. Like, let's call it the egregious stuff right now. And it's not in Dolph Lundgren's acting. Okay? The biggest egregious things about this is this weak ass fake. I don't know if they used like chalk or whatever or coal to make a fake beard on him to make it look like his face is the actual skull logo of the Punisher. But also, you don't put the freaking skull logo on his t-shirt because why?
And you put the skull logo on the knife. You put the skull logo on the damn knife every single time.
I don't hate the meat on the knife. I really don't. But I mean, and I was reading that the director wanted to kind of separate the character a little bit from the comic books, but why? It's an official Marvel Comics film, right? You had the blessing from Marvel Comics to make a Punisher film. You had the rights to do this. Go all the way. It's not like it's a hard costume to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be honest though. This movie was like very campy and like, so this was made in 1989.
Yes.
How the movie looks is beautiful to 1989. It actually looked really good for 1989. I was really genuinely surprised for it. I just think, like, I'm not going to harp on Dolph Lundgren because I know he's a really good actor. I just don't think this was the role for him.
See, I think it is, though. Hear me out. You were talking about, like, the whole holds the gun, incorrectly. He's holding it like it's a freaking Rambo film, right? That what. If you go back to 80s action films, this is what Schwarzenegger would do in, a film like Predator. This is what Rambo definitely did, right? And you take a look at the comic book covers of the Punisher, and that's kind of how he's holding the machine gun. This is one of those things where I think they actually did a decent job of making a Punisher movie. And they also didn't make it a quip fest, right? Yes, modern MCU films live and breathe with that little sprinkle of humor thrown throughout the film. It keeps everyone...
Way too much quirk.
Yeah, exactly.
Way too much quirk.
But this is the freaking Punisher, right? The Punisher is one of the, for lack of a better term, hardest R comic books of that time, right? The entire idea of the Punisher is a unstoppable justice machine. He's basically Judge Dredd of the Marvel universe. And they didn't lean into the quips. They didn't try to make a film that was for the kiddies. It's an R-rated film. And I think
it plays to those strength. It plays to that strength.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, lots of dead bodies lying around, a little bit of blood here and there. No sex, very minimal swearing. So it's a soft R, but it's one of those things where they didn't shy away from what the Punisher was. And I think for 1989, that's a bold move from them.
I will say, though, that strip club scene or whatever it was, a strip club, casino, whatever it was confusing and just very uncomfortable.
I don't know if I'd say it's confusing. So basically the Punisher goes into, by the way, spoilers like a mofo here. The Punisher goes into this club that he knows is run by the Yakuza. And this is after the Yakuza have taken the children, and he goes and says, you're going to lose money every day that those kids aren't released. And he shoots up the club. Very John Rambo style, with the machine gun, like very way macho kind of thing. But that's what the Punisher would do, right? He would hit them where it hurts until they caved. And if they didn't cave, he would do it again. That's something the Punisher would absolutely do.
Mind you, I'm a big Marvel person, but I'm not a big Punisher guy. But I will say Dolph Lundgren did help to at least alleviate more of who the Punisher is and what he stands for, especially with his backstory and everything. So it did help with this movie to understand more about who the Punisher is. Yeah,
and the interesting thing too is that they didn't even start with the backstory. The backstory is very minimalized, and I think that's also a good thing. We got a decent backstory out of the Thomas Jane, John Travolta Punisher film. I felt that one set up the character for those who didn't know the Punisher, even though that one lives a little bit more in the comedic world because of some of the side characters. But Thomas Jane is still a fantastic Punisher. Here, you want someone who's imposing, but you don't want to go down. You're not going to get Schwarzenegger. You're not going to get Stallone. Their price tag is too high if you only have a $9 million budget. Yes, Dolph Lundgren is coming off of Masters of the Universe, but it was a bomb, right? It didn't do all that well. The critics panned it, and really that was kind of the end of canon films. It was like Masters of the Universe and like Superman 4, and Canon Films was going to do a Spider-Man film. And thankfully, Superman 4 and Masters of the Universe and the basic failure of those films to be good prevented Canon Films from doing Spider-Man. So thank God for that one. But here you have a grounded hero, anti-hero really, and you're able to do a street level crime vigilante story. And you need someone to be imposing. You need someone who, the minute they're there, everyone's looking up at them. That's Dolph Lundgren.
I think it was also cool that he just knew never to quit. Mm-hmm. And even when the little kid had a gun to him, he knew if he would have stayed alive, he never was gonna quit no matter what, to just try to get rid of all these bad guys and everything like that, and try to yes, he's an anti-hero, yes, he'll do some crazy stuff and everything and kill all these bad people, but at the end of the day, he's the type of person that will always keep either his interests at heart first and take care of other people as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think also too, when you think about the trend of 80s films, the Chuck Norris films, the Schwarzenegger films, the the Stallone films, the rah, I got a big gun Americana kind of films, Punisher seems to be the perfect choice to be a movie, like a comic book movie in that time. No, he's not a cape guy. No, it's not one of the big heroes. And really, Marvel films weren't really that big. Like the biggest Marvel property being filmed around that time was like the Incredible Hulk made for TV films, because the Incredible Hulk was a good TV show. Marvel wasn't what it is now back then.
I'm excited to see what Marvel can do with an R-rated Punisher special coming up in the summer. I'm excited to see what they do with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Netflix proved that you can do a Punisher series and it works. With his appearance in Daredevil Born Again, we already have the establishment of John Bernthal's Punisher. You can do that. Now, I don't know if they're going to port him into other films. I think there's a rumor he's going to be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. We don't know until we actually see the trailers and whatnot, but I think the Punisher is one of those characters where people are going to watch it because he is one of those big name characters. It's been around long enough. You do the math. He's been around for over 50 years. The Punisher has staying power. It's not really one of those characters where they pop up and they're popular for a little bit and then they kind of disappear. That's probably why we haven't had a Squirrel Girl yet. Although we almost had a live action Squirrel Girl. And if you look it up, dear listeners, look it up. Look up Squirrel Girl, Milana Vaintrub. They were camera testing Squirrel Girl with Milana Vaintrub as Doreen Green, and she would have been freaking awesome.
Yeah, I can't disagree on that.
Louis Gossett Jr. as Detective Jake Berkowitz. Your thoughts on him?
MVP. Just give him the MVP already.
Really?
He was so fun in this movie. He brings that sort of calmness to the role, but also at the same time, he'll know when to go above and be the detective that he is.
Mm-hmm.
He brings levity to a film that isn't supposed to have levity.
See, I was excited when I saw that Louis Gossett Jr. was in this because we talked about this on the Keep Watch Pass movies of 1986 because back then the first Iron Eagle film came out and he was fantastic in that. Louis Gossett Jr. has had a good career, especially in the 80s, and he brings a very level approach. This isn't Danny Glover, Lethal Weapon kind of, I'm too old for this ish kind of thing. This is Louis Gossett Jr. And apparently he made a point of not spending any time around Dolph Lundgren. So when there's that scene where he confronts him in the prison, it's raw. It's very raw. Louis Gossett Jr. came to play in this one.
Wow. Okay, so you were agreeing with me. All right.
I don't know if I'd agree that he's my MVP, but I agree that he's an important part of this film and he's very good in it.
I'm gonna already take a guess that you're gonna say Dolph Lundgren is your MVP.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to wait till the end of the show. Nancy Everhart as Detective Sam Leary. Your thoughts on her?
I think she just deserved more screen time. I liked the balance that she had with Louis Gossett Jr. I thought that was really fun to have that balance.
Mm-hmm.
I think she just deserved a lot more screen time. We didn't really get to flesh out her character a lot.
I think the thing with Detective Leary, and I do actually really enjoy what Nancy Everhart brought to this character, is that it's almost like her sole purpose is to legitimize Berkowitz, right? Berkowitz has spent 5 years trying to track down Frank, and he's the only one who believes that the Punisher is Frank Castle. At this point in the movie, all they know is this character named the Punisher exists. He's killing bad guys, and there's a rumor that it might be Frank Castle. Berkowitz is the only one who actually believes that it is, believes he's still alive. So does Leary. So the fact that she's in here almost confirming his hypothesis with her own belief, and then brings in that computer genius in order to be able to track things down and whatnot. And then we don't really see her much after that. Like she's in the prisoner transfer vehicle when it's hit by the mobsters. So I guess we can assume that she's either dead or in hospital afterwards. So, okay, you've eliminated her from the picture. But the problem is when you bring in a character that revitalizes a main character, don't sideline them. Or if you're going to sideline them, do it in a way where the character that they're revitalizing is clearly affected by it. At this point, it's like Leary's dead or in hospital. All right, well, I guess I got to keep on going. Right? That's not the way you do it.
I guess we just forget that plot line.
Exactly. Well, there's the other thing too, right? Like Berkowitz is captured by the mobsters, and I did warn you guys, spoilers, right? He's captured by the mobsters, then he eventually gets free in the most badass, like nonchalant kind of way that Berkowitz would do. But at no point is he, doing one of those, that this is for Leary, this is for Sam kind of thing, right? Don't bring us a character that we're going to like, and then ship them away. Don't put them on the shelf like they're Wheezy in Toy Story.
Hey, don't attack Wheezy. I loved Wheezy.
But that's what I'm saying. Like Wheezy eventually came back down from the shelf, got his squeaker fix. It's all good. Bring Leary back down off the shelf. If you have a good character, use them.
Yeah, I agree. Also, you were talking about stunts. There are actually some really good stunts in this movie, like throughout. I have to admit, the editing is just like way too fast paced and just doesn't line up as well. But the stunts are really good in this movie. Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too. Apparently, Dolph Lundgren did a lot of his own stunts, so they were able to save a little bit of money. Also, how are you going to find a stunt double for frickin' Dolph Lundgren? You can't. It's Dolph Lundgren.
Are there any other mountain men available to be able to step in for this? No, probably not.
No.
Jerome Crabbe as Yanni Franco, the main mobster who rolls back into town and tries to fill the crime boss vacuum after the Punisher does a little bit of killing. Your thoughts on him?
I'm gonna be so honest. That ending, he acted like he was He-Man. He acted like he was He-Man from Masters of the Universe. I was like, yo, what is this? Like, what is this? I was on his side, and I was like, okay, he's helping out Dolph Lundgren. Like, he's helping the Punisher out. But no. Well, no. He goes straight back.
He's not helping the Punisher. He's basically using the Punisher to get his kid back from the Yakuza. But the thing is, I like that story angle. You think about it, right? This is the mobster that put the bomb in the car that was intended for Frank, that killed his wife and kids. This is the boss level. This is like the end goal. Right? This isn't a side quest gangster. This is main quest gangster right here. And yet, he's in a situation where to save the one cop who believed in him, he has to help this gangster and also, in the process, rescue a kid who's innocent. And it's almost going against what the Punisher, his own raison d'etre. I love that moral quagmire for the Punisher. And I think that Yanni Franco, because I mean, it's not like he's, gone full over the top, mwahaha kind of villain.
No.
Which I think adds to it. Every move that Franco does feels like a chess game for him. I'm not going to go to this meetup with the Yakuza. Clearly there's some mobster spidey sense that he's sensing that this could be a trap. But I like when the villain is understated yet still menacing.
I think he's a very cool villain. I just think what kind of robs that like top tier for him is when he does that monologue at the end talking about how, oh, I'm still going to be going after you, and my son is going to be already in line for like being the next mob boss and everything like that. I just think we didn't need to be told that. It's more on the fact of like, show, don't tell that. You know what I mean?
Okay, but villain's going to monologue. I mean, that's just comic book 101. But I also like the fact that it's the kid who stops the dad from basically, stabbing the Punisher in the back after the Punisher helped save him. Right. Mm-hmm. Again, there's a lot of depth to this plot line. There's a lot of moving moral chess pieces going on with this plot. And I think people who sit there and go, oh, Dolph Lundgren and the Punisher, it's going to be duh. Actually, no, it's not.
No.
For a 1989 R-rated comic book film, this is surprisingly deep.
It is. And it is surprising. With the hour and 29 that they have with this movie, they do it they use that hour 29 so well. They use it so effectively.
Yeah, this is not Endgame or Avengers Doomsday kind of runtime. This is going to be very much a, it's a ride. They don't get too deep into, exposition and stuff like that. It's an action ride all the way through. You're not going to be bored with this at all.
No.
Brian Rooney, who played Tommy Franco. So this is the kid that they have to go and raid the Yakuza in order to rescue. Your thoughts on him?
I really liked him. I really liked him in this, especially for a kid actor. He was really good in this. How he could stand toe to toe with Dolph Lundgren in that one scene was really, really good. For his age especially, it was really good to just have that scene be he has a choice to make. Either he kills the Punisher and lives on his legacy from his father, or he can try to break that stigma and do something differently with his life.
Yeah, but also, you say for his age.
For his age.
It's his first movie.
Wait, what?
This is his cinematic debut.
Wow. Okay.
He was in a TV show before this, but this is his movie debut. And Brian Rooney really, really freaking nailed this.
Mm-hmm.
For a kid actor, first film, he's got chops for acting. Yeah, I am really impressed with what he did. And you're right. That entire scene where the Punisher makes him hold the gun to his head. That's a powerful scene. And there's a lot of internal acting that Brian Rooney was doing. And you don't get that out of most kid actors.
No, you don't, especially with how tough of a scene he had to play for that, especially in the moment. He just lost his father. And he was also trying to save his father at the same time.
Exactly. He stopped his father, and then by stopping him, inevitably he aided in him dying because the Punisher wasn't going to give him a second chance to try to kill him.
No.
Right? So no, that's on him. And Tommy's got this thing do I seek revenge for the guy who killed my father, or do I do the smart thing and not become my father? It is a really strong scene and played well by both. And I say that because Dolph Lundgren he maintains, I don't want to say a monotone, but he maintains a stoicness through the whole film. There's no extra. This is not a happy character. Hasn't had a good time. This isn't a trip to Disney World. This is a pained, troubled, determined, nothing left to live for, nothing left to lose kind of character. And that's the way Dolph Lundgren plays this. Meanwhile, Brian Rooney's playing Tommy Franco as a character who's really at that momentous crossroad decision-making point in his life. And on both sides of that gun, you have really good acting.
It really plays to the strength of just a message of, do you want to choose the path of following your parents' legacy, or do you want to build your own legacy?
Exactly. And I like the fact that we don't get to see, obviously he doesn't shoot the Punisher, but we don't get to see what happens down the road. And it becomes a conjecture, right? Does Tommy follow in the path of his father, or does he make sure that the sins of the father do not define the child? It's a fascinating sit down with a beer and talk about this kind of thing.
We're looking into Punisher way too deep.
Well, I mean, we do have a podcast for this, so that's kind of what we do around here.
Yeah.
Barry Otto as Shake. This is the rhyming drunken thespian that helps out the Punisher along the way. Your thoughts on him?
He speaks in rhymes. This guy speaks in rhymes. It's a funny character. It brings at least some levity to the Punisher. Like, he has a side character that brings some levity to a movie that is, like, completely off its rocker. But he does play it really straight and plays it fun.
The problem is, I think the role in hindsight fares better because of the existence of the Trevor Slattery characters done by Ben Kingsley. It's almost,
shout out Wonder Man. Wonder Man was amazing.
Right. But I often wonder if Ben Kingsley actually looked at this role and said, oh, that's what I need to do kind of thing. That's Trevor Slattery right there. Because it kind of feels like Trevor Slattery right there.
It does. I agree with that. I didn't realize that, but it does look like, like it does seem like Trevor Slattery.
Now, admittedly, the character of Shake is written for this film. This is not a character out of the comic books. The part with the rhyming, though, where everything's a rhyme, and that feels very much like the demon Etrigan from the DC universe. And I don't know if that's what this character needed. It was almost like humor for humor's sake. You know, he was rhyming more than Andre the Giant in The Princess Bride.
Oh, Lord.
Which also...
Wow, don't be attacking Princess Bride. Come
no,
on.
The Princess Bride is a perfect film. There was no attack, but he definitely rhymed more than Andre the Giant did in that movie. But the thing is, he's the only character that tries to bring any kind of levity here. Intentional levity.
Yeah. Is
there a little bit of unintentional levity? Maybe a little bit, but nothing horrible. I just feel like the characters are like the moment when Shake is trying to get Punisher to go after the Yakuza and save the kids. That's a moment. That's a good moment, right? The whole scene where he lures Shake with the bottle of booze on the remote control car. Okay, that was kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
But the whole continuing to drunken ramble through rhyme, that part got annoying to me, and I think that's the biggest knock on this movie, aside from not having a skull on the t-shirt. That's the only big knock I can say on this movie, is that we could have done without Shake basically being the drunken poet of the film.
I think with him, it's more on the fact of he's a good. I like what they did and how they wrote it, because it gives some levity to the Punisher to help him not like go completely insane at the same time. But I don't know. It like compared to movies right now with MCU, as you were mentioning as well, with all the quirks and all the jokes and everything, I think Shake at least plays it a little bit more straight and doesn't take his quips and everything to the max. Like, he'll know when to have his scene and to like play it really straight. The rhyming did get old very quickly.
Yeah, I'm fine with the drunken former actor character. Just change the script a little bit, right? It was an unnecessary attempt at comedy for a film that didn't need it. It really didn't.
No, it didn't.
Kim Mayori as Lady Tanaka. This is the head of the Yakuza. Your thoughts on her?
I absolutely loved her. I loved her as the head of the Yakuza. She was so fun to watch on screen whenever she would come on screen. Because she just had that, like... She just had, like, a different vibe to her.
Yeah.
Every single time she was on the screen, you knew that something wasn't right every single time she was on the screen. It kind of felt like Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada. Like, you would feel a different sense in the movie.
Well, she's going to, like, shoot a bunch of gangsters, go, that is all. Which actually I could probably picture that. But that's the thing. She's like restrained chaos, right? Like she's ruthless. She's cruel. Like she's almost playful in some of it as well, right? And that's the only problem I have with Lady Tanaka. And again, it has nothing to do with Kim Maori, and it actually has nothing to do with the script. Let me geek out here for a second here, okay?
Okay, I gotta listen to this.
Marvel Comics approved this movie, right? This is a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Would it have hurt anybody if we have just said that Lady Tanaka was the head of the hand?
Oh.
You have freaking ninjas. They could be the hand. But instead we get Lady Tanaka, which is not a bad character, but it just would have flushed out the Marvelness of her presence.
And it would have been like a great like transition to any other characters, especially like Spider-Man, for example.
Yeah.
It would have helped.
But it's kind of like, you know, and we mentioned a little bit during the trailer, is that 1990 Captain America film, right?
Yep.
Where, okay, it's a Captain America film. Where the frick is the Red Skull? Oh, no, he's going to go after some Italian mobster? No. Read a freaking comic book and, you know, just put a name to it. You had the ability to call this the Hand, not just generic Yakuza. Go all the way.
Yeah. That I never realized that. I never realized they could have done that. But still, I think Kim Maori, with what she had with that script, she brought a great amount of talent to that script.
She would have made a great Bond villain. Oh, she would have made a fantastic 80s or even early 90s Bond villain. She just had that presence.
She did. See, I'm right. She has that presence.
You're not wrong. You are absolutely spot on this. All I wanted was to be the hand.
Fair. And that is fair.
One last person to talk about here, Zoshka Mizak, who played Tanaka's daughter. Yes, that's the character name. Character doesn't have a name, Tanaka's daughter. Not only does she not have a character name, she had no lines. And yet, that works for this character.
It does. She was really good in this.
Yeah.
Like she didn't know what to say or anything, but she was really good in this movie.
Sometimes having a character with no lines of dialogue increases the menace. Like, I'll admit, like, I'm watching this film, you know, and aside from the fact that I was a little upset that they didn't call the Yakuza the Hand, because it was right there. I'm sitting there going, like, is she from the Red Room? Like, is this a widow? Because I'm getting some widow vibes off of her.
I never realized that. I genuinely never realized that. See? Another transition for another Marvel movie.
Right? But I mean,
Black Widow.
I do wonder how, you know, what was in the contract and, you know, what characters they could actually use. Because I mean, that's the thing. You're only allowed certain characters and certain properties because they're tied up with certain, you know, with certain other contracts. I get that. And maybe that's why they couldn't do the Hand if it was tied up with another character that was already promised to another production company. But I mean, like, and this is, or at least was, Zoshka Mizak's first film as well. And
That's insane.
Yeah, she did really freaking good.
She did. Yeah, she was really good in this, especially for her first movie. But that's the thing. 1989, this movie, with how hard-hitting this movie is, the kids were really, really good in this. And it helped to bring that sort of levity to it. To not be so, like, that, like, crazy.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the thing, right? At no point do they ever, like, lean into just the stupidity of things, right? At all. Like, they took this comic book movie, which some companies have taken comic book movies and just made them into absolute jokes, right?
Yeah.
Not just jokes, but like just really bad representations of them. Like, you know, we had covered recently on this another Marvel film that was filmed in Australia, Man Thing. And I mean, it's okay, but it's definitely not Man-Thing is not of the caliber and quality that a Dolph Lundgren Punisher film is. And I can't believe I'm here saying that, but I'm sorry, but this is actually a decent Marvel take, especially for the budget, the newness of some of the actors to the actual craft of acting, and the cast that you have. Yes, you have Louis Gossett Jr., who proved himself. Yes, you've got Dolph Lundgren, who is, a mountain of a man. Everyone else is proving themselves in this film and proving themselves really well.
I am jealous of Lyle that he got to do Man-Thing. I would have loved to talk about Man-Thing.
Okay, but have you seen Man-Thing?
I'm watching The Punisher now.
Yeah.
It's already can't be enough.
Yeah, watch Man-Thing, and then you'll be sitting there going, man, I am really happy I got The Punisher.
Fair enough.
All right, so let's get down to brass tacks here. MVP time. You already hinted that you thought Louis Gossett Jr. was your MVP. Are you sticking with that for The Punisher?
No, of course I am. Of course I am. Louis Gossett Jr., which is so good in this. I love the take that he brought with this of a knowing where he is and knowing when he's like assured to be a detective. And he brought a great dynamic with him and Dolph Lundgren. Like it was just so good. I loved him in this.
See, you're making this difficult for me here.
I know who you're going to pick. I think I know who you're going to pick.
Because I've got two MVPs. It was a toss-up, and I was hoping that you were going to pick one of them so I could go with the other one. But you didn't, so here we are. Okay, so my toss-up is between Kim Maori, who played Lady Tanaka, and Brian Rooney, who played Tommy Franco.
Mm-hmm.
Not Dolph Lundgren. Yeah.
I'm not surprised with that. The two that you said, I agree with you with there.
All right. So, but I got to pick one. Yep. But shout out to both of them. I'm going to go with Brian Rooney. And I say that because, as a kid actor in his first film, and a film that does not lean into the idea that it's anywhere near a kid-friendly comic book film, Brian Rooney may have had some of the strongest acting scenes in the movie, and that should be freaking applauded. This film is way better than you actually think it's going to be. Like you go back let's go back to those numbers there for a second, okay? Remember, the tomatometer's at 24%. The highest number Metascore, 63%. Now that we've gone through this, Alex, where are you putting this film?
Oh, you made me have to rethink my answer. God damn it.
I told you, math is on the test today.
Okay. I will agree with Metacritic then. I will say it's like a 69, I would say. Like a 69 or a 70.
See, I don't know if I would go that high, because obviously you can always put more in.
Fair.
Yes, the shootout scene at the Yakuza bar, it's a little Rambo-esque kind of thing. But I think if you're looking at like the 57, 58% from IMDb in the movie database, I don't think you're far off on this. Dear listeners, and if memory serves, I'm pretty sure this film is actually on Disney Plus. So if you are subscribed to Disney Plus, give it a shot. Don't look at the cover and go, oh, Dolph Lundgren is the Punisher. That's going to be great. Guess what? Dolph Lundgren actually is a good Punisher. 1989 punched way above its weight and its budget. And I think you'd be surprised just how good this is if you are a fan of comic book movies that do their best to stick to the comic books, even though they should have been in the hand. Sorry.
Yep.
I'm going to carry that one in my grave. Alex, thank you so much. Now, let our listeners know what you're up to and where they can find you out there on the interwebs.
Well, I'm still doing my Footy Frenzy podcast, and I finally thank you for Jason. Got a new computer to help with my audition and premiere so that I can get these podcast episodes out faster. I'm also starting the watch list podcast for movies and talking about movies, talking about shows to recommend. I'm going to get Jason into it because, of course, I am.
You're going to make me watch bad movies, aren't you?
Yes, I am. You already tortured me. You already tortured me here. I need you to suffer with me as well. I need you to suffer.
You know me. I'll watch anything.
But yeah, you guys can find me both there on Spotify and any other Apple and any other podcasts on this internet.
All right. And dear listeners, I'm going to put the links to those shows on the episode page of this on the website, notthatbadcast.com. Make sure you follow. Give Alex, the listeners, until next time, dear listeners, you know the drill. If there is a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned, or if it's so bad that there's no way in a naked sewer den that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on social media at notthatbadcast or go to our website, notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, check out our merch section because we got brand new things at lower prices for you to be able to help the show out. Until next time, he's Alex. I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is It's Not That Bad, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.